Okay, good evening, Winthrop, and welcome to the Winthrop Town Council meeting of October 6, 2020. This meeting is being held remotely. Each councilor is at their own homes, and this meeting will be telecast by WCAT live and will also be shown during the next week at different times. Check channel 22 for listings. Tonight's meeting, there is a call-in number for any public comment. I don't believe we have a public hearing tonight, but any public comment, both sessions of public comment, the call-in number is 1-312-626-6799. Once you call in, the ID number is 873-5276-9066. So we're looking forward to people calling in for public comment. I will now call the meeting to order. And we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Councilor Honan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic
for which
it stands,
one
nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you, Council Honan. We'll now take a roll call, please, Denise.
Council Ruggiero.
Here.
Council Flockhart.
Here.
Council DeMarco.
Here.
Council Christopher.
Yeah.
Council Honan.
Here.
Council Conti.
He was here.
Yep. Council Farino.
Yeah.
Council Vice President Lettieri.
Here.
Council President Boncory.
Here.
Thank you.
I have a full council. I will ask now for a motion to approve the minutes of the September 22nd, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice President Lettieri, seconded by Councilor Farino. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Are there any amendments to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye when your name is called.
Council Ruggiero.
Yes.
Council Flockhart.
Yes.
Councilor DeMarco.
Yes.
Council Christopher.
Yes.
Council Honan.
Yes.
Councilor Conti. Okay. Councilor Farino.
Yeah. Yes.
Vice President Lettieri.
Yes.
Council President Boncory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Minutes are approved. All right. We're moving on to general information, and I believe John Morgan was supposed to join us. Is John Morgan on the?
Yes, he is.
He is. All right, John. We're ready to hear you on White Cane Awareness Month.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am talking about the White Cane Awareness month is October, and October 15th is White Cane Day. The white cane is a symbol of independence for people who are blind, so they can travel around. In 1931, the Lions Club they promoted a national to get the white cane nationally identified for a blind person. I'm sorry, I had this all in my head and it disappeared. I apologize. Also, I'd like to say that in early 2000, that Massachusetts passed the white cane law, which was meant as a reason for motorists to stop for a person with a white cane or a guide dog in a crosswalk and wait for that person to completely cross the street before continuing. Also, I'd like to add that this rule should also to be for people who are riding bicycles. The Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles recognizes that a person on a bicycle should follow the same rules of the road as a motorist. So please, if you see a blind person in a crosswalk or anybody in a crosswalk, please stop. And that's really, I'm sorry I was unprepared. I should have done a better job, and I apologize.
Did fine.
But thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I appreciate it.
John, John, are you still there?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask you to stay on the meeting because there is a issue about Commission for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations, and Andrea notified us she couldn't be here. So I believe you're a member of that committee. I'd like you to be here when we discuss that committee report, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the outdoor dining ordinance, and it's my understanding the Board of Health posted an emergency meeting on September 25th and made some votes. Is anyone here from the Board of Health to give us those rules and regulations that they passed on the 25th? Denise, is someone from the Board of Health? No?
No, I believe that Councilor Christopher wanted to bring up the original ordinance.
Okay, I believe we wanted to bring up the original ordinance, but I think it also was an emergency order put out by the Board of Health, which, I mean, I thought someone would be here to explain them. Councilor Christopher, did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I won't speak for the Board of Health, but I felt like it was important since the future of the executive order that the governor put out is unclear. We don't know if it's going to be extended or if it's not. And I think that I can speak for myself in saying that it was a pretty good success this year, having outdoor dining. I think it should be something that the town looks into doing permanently, and so that we can have a little bit more certainty around the dates and the regulations that go along with it, aside from having to worry about what the future of the executive order that the governor put out was. It was something that was brought up at our last meeting, and I think it would benefit the community. So the intent behind this ordinance was that we drafted in the spring is to make this a permanent thing that the town does and offers to restaurants and business owners to not year round, but every spring we would have a process in place that businesses could apply for. So we're going to start with the ordinance that we drafted last spring in anticipation of the restaurants reopening. And we'll go from there because we drafted it originally for it to be a temporary one for this year only, because we didn't know that the governor was going to do the executive order that he did, and we'll make it a permanent one that will be used year after year.
Okay. And why don't we move that to new business so that I can send it to your committee and then you can write it up, so it will be a permanent time issue. So we'll refer back to that in new business. Okay, if that's okay with everybody. As far as the Board of Health, since nobody is on, I can give you an idea as to what they passed. I think it's a little different from the governor's, but not much. It says the size of a party seated at tables now can not to exceed 10. It used to be 6. The new order says it's 10 people can be seated at a table. Bar seating is permitted, providing that food will be served and there is a physical plexiglass barrier separating the customers from the bar that is 30 inches high, and an opening at the bottom is allowed for food and drink to be passed along, can't be no more than 8 inches high. Bar seating is limited to 2 people seated together. And parties at a bar must be 6 feet apart from any other parties. Prior to serving customers in a bar area, restaurants must be inspected by the Winthrop Inspectional Services Department. Alcoholic beverages may only be served at tables in bar area for on-site consumption if accompanied by food prepared on-site. That means not snack food, but food that is prepared, cooked on-site. And there's a time limit, according to the Board of Health's regulation, of not to exceed 90 minutes for customer service at a table at the bar area. So you can't sit there for more than 90 minutes. And that was by the Board of Health, Bill Smith, Astrid Wines, and Susan McGuire. And they passed that, I believe, on the 25th at an emergency meeting. Okay. The next thing is on the agenda is to address protesters and town rallies. And of course, anybody has a right given to them by the First Amendment to assemble and to speak, have that freedom of speech. Winthrop does not condone or take any political sides in any issue of any rallying that's going on. Winthrop public spaces cannot be used for any kind of public purposes. While we are talking about protesters, what we do condemn is we condemn hatred of any kind. We condemn violence. We condemn people using vile language. And we hope anybody that is taking their First Amendment rights to speak will follow by that. What we do want to see is peace. We want to see unity. We want to see people working together for the betterment of Winthrop and Massachusetts and the United States. Councilor Honan asked me to give her the opportunity to make a personal statement. And I'm going to take this opportunity to allow her to make a personal statement. And I'm sure she will tell you it does not reflect the council, although most of the council will probably agree with what she's going to say.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Boncory. What I am about to say is my statement alone, as President Boncory said. I am not speaking for the entire council. Winthrop has always been a strong community of immigrants. As we know, over generations in our America, the faces, languages, and the countries of origin of immigrants change, but our stories do not. Our pursuit of those inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness written in our Declaration of Independence should never be impeded by bigotry or xenophobia. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Before every town council meeting, we join to say the Pledge of Allegiance, which avers liberty and justice for all, not for some, not for the majority, not for any particular race, creed, or sexual orientation, but for all. The 14th Amendment of our Constitution avers equal protection under the law for all Americans. All Americans should feel safe to pursue their lives, to feel safe driving their cars, to feel safe in their own homes, to feel safe going for a run in their neighborhoods. We must adopt an attitude, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Brutal assaults and murders, blatant crimes which have been captured on tape, the perpetrators of which are then treated with impunity, that is injustice. Why am I quoting our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and our Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? Because I love my country and I believe in its ideals, but I recognize that we are imperfect. As James Baldwin once said, I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. Today, Winthrop is a resilient and diverse community of people in race, culture, and gender identity, and we must continue our work together toward an anti-racist and anti-xenophobic Winthrop. It is what we should aspire to, not only as citizens of Winthrop, but as Americans. We must not become complacent in this regard, nor can we sit idly by while voices of hate and intolerance rise unchallenged. I ask my fellow Winthrop Town Councilors to join me in a pledge of allegiance to these American ideals. That hate has no home here, that diversity is a source of our pride and strength, that Black lives do matter, that the freedom to worship who we choose and love who we choose to love are freedoms that we Americans should not take for granted and should not ever be disparaged. that all are welcome to live their lives in peace and acceptance within our community, Winthrop, and that we are stronger together. I ask that you support me in pushing for a united, just, and equitable Winthrop. Thank you, President Buncomore.
Thank you, Councilor Honan. Does anyone want to speak before we go on?
Council President, I'd just like to add to this discussion, if possible.
Councilor Ruggiero?
Sure, yeah, and thank you so much, Council President, for first putting this on the agenda and addressing this matter head on. And I'd just like to say that, you know, sometimes it's easy in these circumstances to say that the council doesn't get involved in these broader scope socio-political topics, but I feel it's important to really step up here and speak on the matter. And in my opinion, this isn't a political issue, but rather it's an issue of moral fiber and who we are as a town. And, you know, to say the least, I find it sad and disappointing that in October of 2020, we're receiving correspondence from community members related to issues of racism and hatred and discrimination. But nonetheless, here we are. And I'm by no means an expert in these topics, but I don't really think it takes an expert to make it clear that while we are all entitled to our own beliefs, hatred and discrimination towards anyone based on their race, religion, creed, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, sex, familial status, or disability status is absolutely unacceptable and should not be tolerated. And again, I just want to thank you, Council President, for putting this important issue on the agenda tonight. And thank you, Councilor Honan, for your comments as well.
Thank you, Councilor Ruggiero and Councilor Honan. Does anyone else want to be heard? I do not.
President Buncomore.
Yeah, wait a minute. Councilor DeMarco had his hand up first.
Thank you, President Buncomore. Yeah, I just I want to share the same sentiment that Tracy and Stephen did. Hate has no home here, and I mean, I think that should be what we should be screaming from the rooftops. You know, I've picked up my daughters every Thursday and driven through what's going on down at Town Hall, and I want to be clear on one thing. I also would add, we do not discriminate against what political party you are. What's going on at Town Hall has nothing to do with political party. It has to do with hatred. And I want to be clear about that. But I just want to echo those sentiments, and I support everything Tracy said.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. But Councilor Flockhart, did you have something to say?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Councilor Honan. I thought she was very articulate. And I agree with the three people that have spoken on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Christopher. Sorry.
Sure, and I just want to echo the sentiments of everybody, and thank you, Tracy, for that heartfelt comments. It was very impactful in my opinion. And I just think that a lot of times we get held up in these situations because people hold a political banner and it's like it's something that we shouldn't really touch on. But I think it goes without saying that as a council, we should be speaking out against anything that would make people feel unwelcome in our community. And I've had people approach me and say and tell me that they, in fact, that these types of political events make them feel uncomfortable, and I don't think that that's something that anybody should feel in our community. And I think it's important that we signal to them that that's not acceptable, and that it's certainly not the position of our elected leaders that we support that type of speech. And so I agree with the council president that there's nothing that we can do about actually having these events because they are protected by the First Amendment. But at the same time, I think it's important that we speak out when anybody in this community feels like their feelings are not being taken into account. So I think it's great that we're moving on this and we're speaking out against it.
Thank you all. And I appreciate it. As we said, we cannot stop anyone from having a rally. They have a right to free speech. We can only ask that they be civil, and that morality is present, because there are young children in Winthrop that sometimes hear this and they're walking by, and they shouldn't be exposed to any kind of hatred or vulgar language. Please unity is the way to go. We should be working together. Whether you believe in one side or another side, we should all be going to the same purpose. And that purpose is making Winthrop a better, more inclusive, less hateful community. So I want to thank all of you counselors for your personal opinions. And if no one else has anything to say, I think we should be moving on to public comment. As I'm sure maybe we have some people on public comment that will have something to say.
For the folks that are out there in the audience that are on their phone, if you hit *9, that will signify that you would like to contribute to public comment. We have Mitch. If you would unmute your phone and just give your name and precinct.
My name is Mitch Gans. I'm actually not sure which precinct. I believe it's precinct 1. I'm over near the point there. I wanted to appreciate the council for taking the time to put this on the agenda and to have this conversation today. And specifically thank Councilor Honan for her words. I just recently came to my first meeting with the Council on Inclusion and Diversity here in Winthrop, and spurred by that experience, decided to show up on Thursday, kind of see what all the fuss was about, so to speak. And I'm hearing a lot of conversations both there in that meeting and both here tonight around, flagrant language or vulgarity that's being used. And I think I want to be careful, and I want to take some time here to note that, like, when we think of vulgarity, I think often we're thinking of, swear words or, angry music or things of that nature. But some of the words that are being hurled around, accusations of people deserving to die because of their supposed involvement with drug use, which hasn't been proven. People, deserving to die or deserving to face violence for their political beliefs or for their skin color or for their positioning or where they happen to have been. And that is the language that I find really discriminatory and really offensive and really unwelcoming as a person of color here in this town. I've been living here now a little over 2 years, and probably the safest I've felt are on these Thursday rallies, coming out and seeing some of my fellow neighbors come out in support of people like me being here in this community. But by and large, the feeling in this town is certainly one of exclusion, certainly one of, when we say that hate has no home here, I said this in the committee meeting, it most certainly does. Like that feeling is effervescent throughout the town. There's a reason we have all these, we support our local police signs that just pop up in response to police brutality being protested around the country. It's clear that hate has a home here. It's clear when you drive through town hall and we say that this is, a rally where everybody needs to come together and unite, and you have one side saying that lives matter and you have the other side saying that these lives deserve to be taken because of who they are, then it's clear that there is no unity to be had here. And I think we need to put a real intentional focus on what it is that we're asking people to do, who it is that we're asking to bring together at the table, and what it is those goals actually look like. Because when we talk about inclusion, I feel like we spend a lot of time making space for people who have bigoted, flat out, frankly, like racist points of view that feel like they deserve to be accommodated equally for their hate and their vitriol, when in reality, that doesn't deserve, the equal footing or the equal weight that somebody simply pushing to feel included and welcome in their community might. So I just want to start off the commentary here and put that in everybody's mind, and hopefully as we go through the public commentary here, we can try and keep the focus where it deserves in the idea of inclusion and belonging and welcoming, and away from the idea that we somehow need to make space for hatred or white supremacy or pointing fingers and blame for violence onto people who most certainly do not deserve it. So I'll yield the rest of my time, and thank you guys for any response that you may have here.
Mitch, thank you very much for your comments. I want to remind everybody that is coming in on public comment that there is a 3-minute time limit. Not that Mitch exceeded it, I don't know, because I wasn't keeping time, but I believe that we do have a timekeeper, right, Councilor Honan? Okay, next.
I don't see any other hands up. They'd like to contribute to public comment. Oh, I have Karen Chavez.
Hi, Karen.
Good evening, Council President. I was not going to speak tonight because, to be honest with you, I didn't have anything to say. But last night, I listened to the Finance Subcommittee of the Town Council, and it was said that by someone that they could not see a new public safety building be in the forecast for 10 years. I hope this is not the feeling of the council. It can't be put off. We have a lot of young firefighters now in this town, and they all winter firefighters, no matter if they've been on for 1 month or if they've been on for 25 years, deserve a new home. We need to be able to take care of them. They need to be able to come back into the station to decontaminate themselves, as they should be. They need to have a decent place or an area for time off during their long hours of duty. If a public safety building is not an option and the police station is in bad shape, that was said last night, then I believe that some capital improvement money should be used to correct the deficiencies in the police station. We need to build the fire station. We want to keep and mature our young firefighters. Let's show them that we want them to stay in Winthrop and not have to wait 10 years for a new home. That is inexcusable. I know money is tight. Please, there isn't anybody that understands that any more than I do. As you all know, I am very, very involved with the finances in this town. Please, let's get forth with this. Let's do something, and let's prove to them that we really care about them. And like I said before, it isn't only the firemen, it's all the police. If the police need corrections in their building, let's get it done if there's not going to be a public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, there are plans for a joint public safety building with fire and police. The plans are almost in their final stages. The only problem we have is the money. And hopefully we will be able to get that money, but it's going to take some kind of community action that will put something on the ballot to raise that money. And I don't think it's something that the council can do in its position as a council. I think it has to come from a citizen group. But let's go on. Any other public comment?
Yes, we have Allison. If you would just state your name and your precinct, please.
Hi, I'm Allison Dewar. Can you hear me?
Hi, Allison. How are you?
Good.
Very nice video.
What?
Is that your video that you put out?
What video?
Oh, maybe it's the wrong Allison. Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm in precinct 1. I just wanted to echo what Councilor Honan said about diversity and inclusion, and her statement was well researched. It was great. I've stood out there on Thursdays with her, and the message coming from the I hate saying her name, Diana Ploss's side of the street it's ignorant. It is hateful. Some of the flags we have around town are ignorant and hateful. We have, by the high school, there are at least 2 Trump flags that say something, and I'm going to swear, no more bullshit, or something involving bullshit. And I heard what Mitch said, and that was awesome too. And so my main point here is, there is a saying, like if you say that you're inclusive and you invite all people to the table, if you equally invite wolves and sheep, you're only ever going to get wolves because the sheep will stay away. So the people, you're only going to get predators because the people who are the prey, who are the ones that are attacked, will not come to your table. And so when you're drafting any kind of speaking points or any kind of letter or any kind of statement as a town council and saying things like hate has no home here, you have to be extraordinarily specific that you mean it and that you are not giving a place so you only get wolves. So you're not saying, we welcome everybody, but you don't want to welcome everybody. You want to welcome those who have traditionally been marginalized, who have traditionally been discriminated against. And the ones doing the marginalization and the discrimination have had their time and they have done poorly. And you need to make sure that they know that if they are coming in, they are coming in not in a position of dominance. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on public comment?
No, I don't see any other hands up at this time.
All right, there will be another public comment on later in the day. But I would like to let everybody know that we have received a great deal of correspondence about the rallies, about schools and so on. Denise has a list of the people, and if she unmutes herself, she can tell us about the correspondence. I probably got about 20 separate ones that I gave her today.
Yeah, we had quite a few, and if I didn't receive or if I'm not saying anybody's that sent it, please send it and it will be made part of the record. We don't read the emails for the length of them, but we do read the people's names and what their concerns are. We have the school concerns from Donna Riley, Julia Howington, Kim Hayes, Doreen Shea, Amy Warstack, Julian Pivot, Nancy Beerfield, and Jacob Batazawicki. We had the protester concerns and the rally concerns from Kelly Gall, Alexis Stevens, and Catherine Bell. And then we had concerns about a motion that's coming up tonight on Almond Street, Cross Street, and Locust. And against this particular motion is Jillian Texeria and Linda Caligeris. And that's what I have right here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If your correspondence was missed, please let us know when we will add whatever email you sent to the records of this meeting, of the minutes of this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports. Can I have a report from the Rules and Ordinance Committee?
Sure. The Rules and Ordinances Committee met last night at the request of the chair of the Tsac committee. We referred one of them back. That was the one that we talked about last week with the Shirley Street, with the 15-minute parking. I guess there was already on the books a couple of 30-minute parking spots in our ordinances. So we needed to reevaluate that. So that's going to go back to Tsac, and we should take something up after they meet. And we also, we tabled indefinitely the motion for the Locust, Almond, and Cross Street one-ways. After speaking with members of the community, I think we felt like that option was not one that we wanted to take. And we felt like, and we referred to Tsac, it was suggested that Tsac look into perhaps taking some of the parking around the intersections, specifically at Revere and Locust Street and Cross and Locust Street, and extending the no parking zone on those intersections a little bit more further, because most of the complaints that members of the committee had received to that point were around people turning in from Revere Street onto Locust, and also at the corner of Cross and Locust Street as well. So we asked them to look into those possibilities and see if they could come up with some alternative solution that wasn't making those three different streets one ways, or reconfiguring the way that that neighborhood worked, because we'd heard that that really wasn't something that the neighborhood wanted. So so hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have some new suggestions on both of those matters.
Okay, and we'll make motions to continue those under new old business. That's what they're on. Thank you, Councilor Christopher. Finance Committee. Vice President Terry.
Thank you. Finance Committee met last evening. We had 3 items on the agenda. We're trying to be proactive with some of these issues. The first issue is we just wanted to have a check-in on the Board of Health and with Meredith's department, and trying to get a good financial picture as to where they are. If Meredith felt that she was in a good place financially. We were informed that the CARES Act has brought a sufficient amount of money into the town right now to get us to the end of the year. That money is being used very proactively and trying to keep ahead of items. Meredith and her staff is doing an incredible job, and we thank her for that. But we wanted her to realize that we were there to make sure that we're not being reactive and being proactive with these issues. So we were happy to find out that she has all the resources she needs as of now. The other item that we discussed was fiscal policies. When the town manager created the budget along with the CFO, I think Austin had some thoughts of some policies to change and to address, and we took that very seriously. And we think that we were very fortunate with the bonding agencies that we were able to maintain our status, and we want to continue to be prudent with our financial decisions. We'd asked Anna, the assistant town manager and CFO, to hopefully over the next couple of weeks get us a spreadsheet of her and the town manager's thoughts and in the direction of fiscal policies and what we might be able to do and not do. And we hope to look at that towards the end of the month and the beginning of next month, but we're trying to be proactive with this also. The third issue we discussed were the buses. The school department declared the buses that were given by Viking Pride several years back as surplus earlier in the year, which gave the town the opportunity to put them out to auction, which the town did. My thought was, and the committee agreed with me, that Viking Pride does an incredible amount of good for this town and has for a long period of time. And the schools thought it was in their best interest now to get out of the transportation business, so to speak. And that's the direction which the town went. But I thought, and the committee agreed, that we should look at the money that is coming in from that, because normally when something is surplus, it is auctioned off. Money comes into the town, goes into, basically it reverts the free cash at the end of the year. And I really want to try to create a special article so the money from the sale of those 3 buses can go into a special article which is designated for the use of athletics or extracurricular activity, something that Viking Pride, what they're all about. And I feel it's the least we can do to make sure that is a gift that keeps on giving. So we hope to be able to have a motion for the next meeting to create a special article which would enable those proceeds from the sale of the buses to go into. We could take that money out of this year's free cash and then replace it with the money from the buses. It looks like that, we're talking somewhere around a little over $20,000. But we want to be able to, I think it's extremely important that Viking Pride's generosity is not overlooked, and that we continue trying to use whatever proceeds we can get for the betterment of our students. So that was the third item we discussed. Nothing had been sent to us by the committee, but again, we're just trying to be a little proactive in some of the items that we're looking at.
Okay. Is there anything, Council Vice President Lettieri, from your meeting that has to go to new business? Do you want to put that bus issue on?
The busing, the special article on the busing will go to new business, yes.
Okay. Okay, I will put that on, and we can put on new business and send it to a committee. All right, a joint meeting between the Finance Committee and the Zero Waste Committee. Do you have a report on that?
Yes, and we also met last evening, and I was extremely happy to see, incredible attendance from the Zero Waste Committee, and with Councilor Honan sharing double duty between Zero Waste and a Finance Committee. But we had very good attendance. Everyone was there, I believe, from both parties. We went over a lot of information. I literally have a book here that was given to me by Emil Demento that is literally 20 years old, with an incredible amount of information about waste and recycling and pay as you throw, and all different kind of options. And she did an incredible amount of work, and I believe Tracy was even on part of that years back. So we thank them for that work. But I know the mission of Zero Waste is basically to try to eliminate, to reduce the amount of waste that Winthrop is producing. And we're looking at it also as, you know, we just, I believe the town manager entered into a new contract, which, you know, prices go up. And we've been extremely fortunate that our price for trash over the past several years has been relatively stable. And now we're going to see an increase, and we need to look at different alternatives. We looked at the trash contract, and we just began to throw some ideas around. We want to come back. We have a timeline that we would like to come back sometime in December with some very concrete agenda items for us. I know some of these issues will be discussed in Finance Committee, but we want to have the thoughts and actions of the Zero Waste Committee also. We discussed, you know, we're going to have another meeting in a couple of weeks, and in the meantime, we're going to look at some other communities and to look at some of the things that they have. For example, Malden has a pay-as-you-throw that's extremely difficult and rolling out and has had some issues. Swampscott has a 50-pound limit per week per household, and I'm not sure how that is really done, but and what happens if somebody has 60 pounds. But we're trying to look at some other options out there, and we will be coming back with a recommendation over the next couple of months that I hope the council will act on. And it was a very good first joint meeting. There is some definite information that we're looking at in terms of how many actual number of households in the town are provided with trash pickup, owner occupied versus non-owner occupied, elderly housing, well, not housing, but people that own houses that are being picked up. The other question we had was on the ordinance. I believe in Michael Del Lucio has been incredibly helpful also. And the ordinance, I believe, that we have now in the town says that each house is entitled to 3 barrels of trash per week. My understanding is the contract with Capital is 2 barrels per week. And furthermore, my understanding is the new contract that basically started in July, but we are supposed to be getting as a town, as citizens or homeowners, a barrel similar, and I'll ask the town manager if I screw this up at all to please step in. But we are going to be, and with COVID and everything else, the delivery of these barrels will probably not be until early to mid-spring of 2021. But we're supposed to be receiving 1 barrel per household, I believe, which is going to be the size of the recycling bins that we've had for a couple of years now. And each household will be allotted 1 of the big barrels. So they're, you know, probably the equivalent of 2.5 regular barrels. But I'm not sure, and we're not sure as a committee, if we should look at an ordinance to adjust the ordinance one way or the other, or if it even should be as an ordinance where if the contract changes, do we have to change the ordinance? So I would ask if Austin can maybe clarify if I was right with that. The new contract is going to be 1 barrel per household per week.
Yep, so you're correct. It would be similar to the recycling bins, 1 barrel per unit per week. These would be 65-gallon barrels or 64. The trash bins that are generally out that most people buy at like a Home Depot or a hardware store or a local Ace maybe, are usually in the 30 to 35-gallon range, so smaller. Again, this gets a little tricky because you're talking about volume versus weight, which gets a little tricky when you think about like the pounds per household and that type of stuff. 65-gallon is pretty standard across the board in terms of those toters, which are the kind of thicker plastic with the rolling wheels built into them, branded with Town of Winthrop. But those would most likely be rolling out in probably late April, early May.
Yeah, and even with these changes, the price of the contract is roughly, $300,000+ over what we have been paying. So you're talking about somewhere around $1.5 to $1.6 million per year. So it's definitely, I'm sorry?
That's correct. I was
Yeah.
agreeing.
So it's definitely something that we have to take a look at. And, you know, there's a potential to save a little bit of money if we do a better job recycling. So it's definitely something that our committee is going to look at and hope to come back to the council sometime in mid-December with a recommendation as to a course of action that would benefit everyone in the town.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Let us know when you're ready to put something on the agenda with that.
Okay.
Okay, next committee is the Commission on Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. They held a meeting Wednesday evening, September 30th. I was present because as on all committees, I'm an ex officio member, so I try to make as many as possible. Andrea, who is Baez, who's the chairperson, could not be with us tonight. John, would you like to talk about the meeting if you're still there? John Morgan?
Yes, President Boncory. I thought that the meeting was, I think we need a lot of improvements myself. I think the committee, as a committee, we need more training and how to get our message across. I also think that we should have some guidelines on the public comment. There was a caller that used foul language in what I thought was an unnecessary racial I don't know the word, I'm sorry. But as a committee, I'm only one of the 9, and I would prefer that the other people have a say in this also. But as there really need to have some serious guidelines in how to perform our duties for the town.
Okay. Thank you, John. The committee was pretty well attended, and it did have quite a bit of public comment come in and ideas. The committee did pass the motions and ask some significant questions. One of the motions that the committee passed is that the town would equally apply Board of Health requirements for face masks to all people attending public rallies or so on. And we do have a face mask ordinance in Winthrop, and it is being enforced. The problem is that if people have a health problem or tell you that they have a health problem, there's not really much you can do about forcing people to wear face masks. Winthrop police have been at the rallies, and they have given out face masks to people, and they have asked people at all rallies to wear face masks, and they have had them on supply to give to them and asked them if the people would want them. The second motion was that the committee wants to collaborate with the town manager in drafting a message of no tolerance for hate speech in town. They passed a third motion saying the commission will request or suggest that the school department solicit some slogans from students as to what the youth in this town feel about no hate messaging. So those were like 3 motions that they passed. They discussed quite a bit of issues, and they were very responsive to the public comment that came in. And as I said, there was quite a bit of public comment.
So, President.
Yes.
One item, just to, it's my own neglect in terms of talking with as many committee chairs as possible in terms of the correct way to run meetings and the right ways to conduct ourselves. So that's something I'll take a note on and try to get a little bit better for this diversity committee along with other ones. That said, as you all formed this committee, this is an advisory committee to the town council. So anything that they do pass within the committee is similar to a non-binding resolution that would have been passed at town meeting. So it is a suggested course of action that the town council can decide if they want to pursue or not pursue. That's the level of authority that they have right now. If you wanted to give them more authority, that would be a more comprehensive process, and most likely something that would go through like the Charter Review Committee. But for right now, anything that they pass within that committee as an advisory committee then comes up to the council, and the council decides what action to take with those items.
Correct. And as I said, I was in attendance and I helped them through some of the parliamentary procedure problems that they were having, but they seem to get through it, and I think they'll be fine going forward. Okay, moving on to the town manager's report.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Again, I appreciate everyone in the community's patience and tolerance with all of the changes that have happened over the past few months. We've kind of been at this type of stuff since March. Unfortunately, we're still working at it. We yesterday had town hall and the library and most of the municipal buildings welcome back a fair amount of our staff to be working on site. We have those hand sanitizing stations installed, all of our signage, QR codes when you enter buildings to fill out a survey. We're going to be ramping things up with the library. We're working very hard. That said, again, the priority is keeping people safe. And I have told my staff this, and I will tell the entire community this. My priority since March has been to keep people safe and healthy as much as possible. I'm the manager of the staff. I have to put my staff's health as a priority when I make my decisions about the building. So for right now, we have welcomed back a fair amount of staff, but we are also preparing ourselves for the event that we potentially need to shift into working remotely again. We learned some lessons since March, and we've worked to try to clean up some of our systems internally so that we can continue to provide services to the community. That's really important to us. I'm going to hit on something. I'm going to discuss one item first, and then I'm going to have Meredith give her update. I wanted to, well, actually two items, excuse me. The bike sharrows, again, they are, Steve, not if I'm correct, about 50% installed right now. We still have some areas of town where some work's being done, so those will be painted in the coming weeks. They have been rolled out. I hope people have seen them around town. Again, it's not the end of the world on our roads. Bikes aren't crashing into cars. Cars aren't running off the road. People are living their lives. But what we're doing is realizing that bikes are part of the multimodal use of our roads. So we're trying to be cognizant of them. And I've said this before, I want us to continue to think of a future that's not just built around our roads and cars. You have an advocate in town who's very passionate about this, and Julia Wallers, and some of the things that she's been working on for a long time. And I've seen be successful in other places, and I hope I can continue to kind of pull Winthrop in that direction. We're not taking away parking for bike lanes or anything like that yet. We're just introducing these pretty standard things that, again, you drive over the bridge to East Boston. When it switches to Saratoga, you see bike sharrows right on the side of the road. That little bike lane, that's the side white line with the bike sharrow, actually goes away a little more than 100 yards past that bridge into East Boston. And what's after that when you're heading towards Boston? Sharrows. So we're fitting kind of the common language of the region. It's a starting point, and it's more than we had before, and we're going to keep working at it, because although we do a lot about cars, we talk about the parking in town, we talk about speed limits, we talk about our intersections, other people and things use those roads as well. And it's not to say that they're a higher priority, it's that they are also a priority. So I want to try to make sure that people realize we're not flushing money down the toilet on this bike sharrow stuff. This is super important in trying to keep people safe on our roads. We have that. Last week, we had some new signs installed around town, and they're SUFA signs. There's 5 locations right now. They're mostly in business districts. We're probably going to have some more rollout once all of the center business district work is done. One thing that's always been brought to my attention since I've been in Winthrop, and even when I interviewed in Winthrop, was that Town Hall does a bad job of communicating with the public. And I've really taken that to heart. And I've tried in different ways to try to attack this problem. One of the things that I thought would be very useful would be something like a town-wide bulletin board. And that's what SUFA will give us. The town is able to post calendars there. We're able to communicate. We're going to push out some of this COVID messaging over there. There's going to be prioritization of that. Local businesses can push messaging out there. And also, that's for free. They can choose to advertise there if they see fit. I have some notes that I just wanted to hit on quickly with this. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me share my screen so I can show what they look like to everyone. Let me do this briefly. Solar Power Community Information Boards. This is what they look like. They have nice Winthrop branding and a Winthrop map on the backside that introduces our parks and business districts. On the front side, you can see this is actually an electronic ink screen where Larissa, as of right now, is controlling a fair amount of the messaging that goes out there. We can put out transit times, we can put out news to the community, we can push messaging. Peter, Christopher, probably when I started in Winthrop, talked to me about signs and wayfinding and how you get off the ferry, you get into town, you don't really know where to go. So that's what I'm trying to build with some of these signage, these signs in town. I had them set up with somewhat of a like wave-based theme, blues and yellows, which I know are colors that are important to Winthrop. These colors that are on these signs will also be represented on the town website, in the town's budget book. We're going to try to utilize these colors as like universal messaging coming from the town when we communicate with the community. These are, again, really important communication tools that we can have. And it's going to be an interesting way to get the word out, because we're not going to hit everyone from Twitter and Facebook. We're not going to hit everyone from the transcript. We're not going to hit everyone in these meetings. It's just another way to get information out in front of people. So it was an important investment from my perspective, and we figured out a way to pay for it. Just hitting a few notes on this. They're currently installed as well in Boston, Everett, Revere, Malden, Somerville, and Brookline. They're actually a female-founded startup out of MIT, so great to support female businesses. They are 100% solar-powered, and they use e-ink technology, so anyone who's had a Kindle in the past 15 years knows what e-ink looks like, and no glare, those types of things on it. They will push out real-time information, and we're going to have a focus on COVID to begin with. Transit schedules, local event calendars, public opinion polls, news, and Twitter updates. Public opinion polls should be kind of cool because we can push out some interesting questions on there. And then we can also have some fun on there. I've brought up, like, I don't know, what's everyone's favorite Adam Sandler movie or something like that, or what's good on Netflix lately. So we can, not everything has to be doom and gloom all the time, and we can take surveys that are actually kind of fun sometimes. And then lastly, they will work with local and regional businesses. We've set them up with Betsy Shane from the Chamber as well. And whatever advertising is done on those signs, the town actually gets 20% of that advertising back. So really cool opportunity to kind of introduce some new messaging out into the public space, and keep the town better informed, because again, I've said to everyone, I've always wanted to work on the communication in this town. I'll keep chipping away at it. And this is just another big chunk that I think I kind of took out of this rock, in trying to make sure as many people as are in the community as informed as possible. With that, I would ask Meredith to unmute herself and give a quick update. Thank you.
Just quickly, Austin.
Sure.
Larissa will be the one putting the news up on that information board. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Will there be other people that have an ability to throw things in there? Because as I called you about, they had the wrong news up there for the wrong Winthrop.
Yeah. So that was Unfortunately, that was like a feed issue. That was just when you pull any news about, if you just Google Winthrop, Maine, and Winthrop University pull up. I've dealt with this with the social media stuff previously. They're going to refine it to Winthrop, Massachusetts, and I'm going to give them a list of Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds and stuff like that in town that are utilized to inform the public. Like there's the Winthrop 02152 that I know tons of people follow in town and stuff like that. Even you know, the stuff from the CDC, the important stuff about COVID, like these are the, it's another way to get information out to the public. And that is what is most important to me. I can't fire everyone's house every single time something happens. So I have to keep looking for new and different ways to try to get messaging in front of as many people as possible.
Thank you.
Yep. And then Meredith, go right ahead. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I just have a few slides tonight, mostly just to keep myself on track with these updates. So, sorry. There we go. All right. So as of this afternoon, we've had 415 confirmed cases, 24 deceased. We now have 21 isolated and 370 have recovered. Over the weekend, we had an increase of 9 cases between Friday evening and Sunday morning. So this obviously is concerning on many levels, but what I can tell you is that the majority of these cases were indicative of household spread versus an outbreak. So for example, I am not doing 9 independent investigations. They consist of household clusters within household clusters of previous cases. So it's not obviously great for our incidence rate, and it's not great for our case count. But that's the only positive that I can kind of tease out of this, is that we're not, from all accounts right now, we're not looking at this being the beginning of some sort of uncontrolled outbreak. We believe that it's moderately controlled. So these are just the age groups of confirmed cases by month. You know, this is also what we've been seeing throughout the state in the last 5 to 6 days. The governor's been talking about the recent uptick in cases, the recent increases in percent positive. I don't know currently what our percent positive will be. That is a metric that I'm dependent on DPH to report on their Wednesday evening reporting. I have a feeling it's going to be up. But on the same token, yesterday we had 293 people tested at our site. I actually heard from a staff member here that when they went to go get tested yesterday, they had actually run out of test kits. So, you know, I've spoken to Fallon about that. We had been running between like 140 and 175. So to see 290s, then I think that they were surprised a bit by how many people were taking advantage of the testing site yesterday. And I think that we'll see that continue all week. Here's what the incidence rate I believe is going to be released. So based on what I have calculated on our confirmed cases, DPH reported 24 cases in that time period. One of them is a previous discrepancy, so I'm counting it as 23, which puts our incidence rate at 8.7 for the September 20th to October 3rd, which is going to be reported. Obviously, there's going to be some shifts one way or the other, depending on what their cutoffs were versus my cutoffs. But I think that we'll both end somewhere around that number. We held our first flu clinic this past Saturday, and it was a huge success. We did 157 vaccinations. We had received 140 of the injectable flu vaccine, and we had distributed all but 5 by noontime. And the clinic was scheduled from 9 to 2. Normally, I know that majority of you, if not all of you, have heard me say this before. Typically, we order between 300 and 350 doses of flu vaccine. And this year I ordered about 900. So definitely anticipating a higher demand. There might be availability coming from the state later on in November, where they'll release additional doses to us. I think a lot of practitioners are not holding traditional flu clinics in their offices, is what I've been hearing. Also, other communities are choosing not to hold flu clinics because they don't have the capacity at this point. So the MRC was a huge, huge help. I cannot say enough about the volunteers that came out to help. This was a much bigger undertaking. We had essentially 2 flu clinics going simultaneously. One is walk up and one is a drive-through. Both chiefs were there in the early morning, helping to set up, really getting things going. So I'm extremely appreciative of all the help. And that's all that I have for you guys, unless you guys have any questions.
I just want to thank you, Meredith, for the great job that you're doing. And it's fantastic. I want to give a special shout out to the MRC doing 157 in an afternoon for a flu clinic. It's great. I know we have some upcoming flu clinics, and hopefully you're going to get the word out. I know you're doing a special one for seniors.
Yes.
And,
Yep. So that's our plan. We're planning on doing some more specific to population. So we know we had a large demand of children at this first flu clinic. We opted not to have kids do the drive-through just because, if a kid's buckled in the back seat, and then, it could get dicey when you're trying to give a kid a vaccination. If mom and dad couldn't potentially hold them, it could be dangerous. So we opted not to have children go through the drive-through and just do walk-up. So we had a high demand for the pediatric vaccinations, which is only going to continue, especially if the mandate stays that it's required to have a flu vaccine before going back into a school building. So that's one thing. And also, this is the first year that we've ordered the high dose vaccine. We're just waiting at this point. It's a waiting game. And I mean, I do have to say, we didn't wait for the state to provide us vaccine because it is notoriously, it's a notoriously long process. So we've bought it with the idea of reimbursement through insurance. But it's put us ahead of the game with being able to at least start the vaccination process. And honestly, as crazy as it is, I just try to remind myself that it's good practice, because I do think that local level, we are going to be the ones that will be tasked with developing any sort of vaccination plan if or when a COVID vaccine is released. I think that it's going to be on the local jurisdictions to deliver those to the people. So as much as it's a little chaotic to think what the next few weeks will be for this vaccination process, it's gonna inform how we do a much larger scale, hopefully in the early spring or late winter.
Thank you, Meredith. And I didn't jump in at the beginning of the meeting to talk about COVID because I knew you were going to give this report. But I want to remind everybody that what she just reported is that we're going to probably be somewhere between 8.7 and 9.1 in the red again. And this will be like the 8th week in a row. So please, people, be conscientious. Wear your face mask, social distance, wash your hands. It's so important. I mean, we've been in this, there's only like 7 other communities in the state that have continuously been in this for 7 weeks to 8 weeks. And unfortunately, we're one of the few. So please try to make an extra effort for the next week, because we'd like to get back to school. And I'll say more about it when they talk about the school committee report. Tracy.
Just want to give props to Meredith. Thank you. That's okay. I want to give props to Meredith. Both my husband and I were at the flu clinic and we got our flu shots. And not only does Meredith handle the epidemiology of the COVID outbreak, but she administers the shots, and she stuck it to us. But she was great. And she's a toddler wrestler, multi-talented. It's a tough job. But everybody was social distancing, wearing their masks. Everybody was enforcing it. The Council on Aging was there, giving out small bags of candy, even to my husband. Meredith put up with his sarcasm, which is not always so funny. But anyway, you did a great job. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Austin, are you finished with your report, or do you have more?
I am all set, just trying not to laugh at Tracy making fun of her husband the same way my wife would make fun of me.
Could you tell us something about the streets that are being paved? Because we've been getting a lot of calls about, all the paving that's going on. And, it's all great improvement for Winthrop, but I'm getting some concerns. Could you give us a little bit about either you or Steve?
Sure. I'll pass. Steve's on. Steve, if you could unmute yourself.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're in the process right now of phase 2 of milling. We're actually going to be starting our first day of paving tomorrow. It'll be the roadways, the section of Pleasant Street between Brookfield and Pauline Street. We got Sargent Street, and we have we'll get started on Washington Ave, closing that up. A lot of these roads are on the truck route. They were roads that were deteriorating. They were to a point where plows would just unravel on the roads when they were going over it. It was in preparation of the winter. Also, coupled with the need to get the sharrows down on the bike route, we wanted to put the paint on good asphalt instead of crumbling asphalt. Many of the roads that are being done are part of our lead replacement projects from last year and this year, and we hope to be able to do that. We need to stay committed to the lead replacement projects for at least the next 5 years per DEP. We're hoping to follow each year with being able to resurface the roads that we're opening. What we've been doing with the lead project is trying to, get all the lead out of a roadway before we resurface. Unfortunately, some of these roads are just too far gone to be able to wait, to get all the infrastructure done. Obviously, that's the desire on any roadway projects. But we're moving on the worst roads. We're looking to be able to get 70,000 square yard of asphalt done this year, which is equivalent to about 5 mile of roadway, which is a big undertaking. It's actually been going fairly well. I think we've notified in every area that we've been working. We've been collaborating with the police. Terry's been great. We've put traffic plans together, and we're trying to do our best to keep it as least impactful as possible. But it's a necessity, and hopefully we can stay committed to it in the years to come. It's an aggressive bite this year with 70,000 yards, but to put it in perspective, we would need to do this for the next 10 years to get to all the roads in town. So we got to stay up on the streets. We haven't always, not that we haven't been committed to it. We haven't always had the ability to get the roads replaced when needed, and they deteriorate quickly. And again, winters in New England take a toll on them. So we had to get some of these roadways done this year before the winter. I'm sure we won't get as much as I hope we do. We won't get as mild of a winter as we did last year. So that's what we're doing. And, we'll happy to take any questions if I haven't answered what you wanted, Council President.
Thank you, Steve. Do any councils have any questions for the town manager on any part of his report? Council Christopher.
So Austin, I just had a quick question about the billboards. Do those have the ability to be controlled individually so that you could potentially put up options for people? I know we have one near a parking lot right now. Would it be possible for us to say, give directions to local restaurants from the parking lot?
Yep. There are each one, we can decide what information is displayed on them, kind of in different tiles. So if you remember what Facebook was a while ago when the news feed first was coming out type of thing, that type of idea. So we can kind of move around what's displayed where and what the priority is. We talked about closer to the bus stops, we would have the bus schedules on them so people would know if they were kind of waiting in the area, how much longer until a bus came. In the ferry area, a little bit more directing them towards businesses. One cool thing that they can do, and this is going to take a little bit more coordination with the chamber, is they can tell you what's open in the area. So that's something that they just need the information to be able to inform that, so people can know. But yeah, we can kind of tailor it per sign, per location, and treat each location kind of unique and designed to what's in that little area.
And are there plans to have one in French Square once the construction is done?
Yeah, so that's funny that you say that. So I can just list out, there's 5 of them right now. Metcalf Square, Winthrop Marketplace, Revere, and Cross, the fair, like the ferry terminal, and then also it's kind of hiding behind the Hagman parking lot right now on a slab. Our issue is that because of the active construction in the Center Business District, it's on a slab. It can be moved. And I tried to give Steve, he met with SUFA. We're trying to give some flexibility in our ability to move it around as the construction is happening there. There will be a more permanent place for it. And I actually see the Center Business District as being a location where there could be more than one, depending on what our streetscape looks like and what our budget looks like at the end of the project. So these are something, we have 5 locations right now. I really hope it's not the only 5. I would think that we could utilize some more of these in town, and with the idea that we can really have them specified almost on like a neighborhood basis of what they push out. We have a cool opportunity to expand them. And again, this goes in line with the, if we're looking for some more foot traffic in the Center Business District, we need things like the street furniture, which we'll get from the parklets, but we still need more. We need bike storage. We need places for people to sit. We need signage to direct people where to go and where stuff is in town. So we kind of have years of these types of things to keep introducing into the community so that people can be informed and people can also utilize the public spaces in different ways.
Councilor Gerald.
Thank you, Council President. So are these reader boards something that folks can interact with, or is it just to read and consume information, or can folks touch them and click buttons? And
They can't touch them and click buttons, but they will be updating in real time. So we say we get into the yellow, and unfortunately one day Meredith gets a report and says, oh no, we had a super spreader event, we're in the red, we need to get this out right away. Like that. Meredith and Larissa can push stuff out. So again, it's another tool like the Code Red, like the EOC, like our website, where we are going to keep trying to help people keep informed. And then longer term, in whatever world looks like after COVID and stuff like that, we will have our public calendar informed in there. Like the iCal from the website that has all of our events will be presented up there. So people will see the events that we're having even when they see those, and a host of different information. So they're pretty cool. But I'm kind of jazzed about the idea of having like public dashboards, public bulletin boards that kind of help everyone learn what's happening in the community a little bit more.
Thank you.
Councilor DeMarco.
You're muted, Rob.
Realize that. Sorry about that. I guess this question is for Steve Calla. Steve, I know because we're doing all the paving, are there any plans for maybe new crosswalks or any pedestrian improvements during this paving?
We actually put new pedestrian ramps on all the side streets feeding the Morton Street area.
Okay.
That was certainly an improvement. We did we did over 4,000 square yard of sidewalk this year in the sidewalk project, and we did a lot of rehab on many of the pedestrian ramps during that project as well. So anytime we have the opportunity to fix crosswalks, we certainly do. And and we're reworking the crosswalk that was deteriorating, the stamped concrete asphalt down on Yarrow Beach near the entrance to that.
Okay.
We reworked that pad, and that'll be all restored with new asphalt there as well. So we are focused on it, and we'll continue to be.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else, I'll move on to the school department update. The school committee met remotely on September 28th. During the school committee meeting, we passed two memorandums of agreement, one between the Winthrop School Committee and the Winthrop Teachers Association, and the other between the Winthrop School Committee and the SEIU Local 88 cafeteria workers. Both of those memorandums of understanding are public information now. I believe they are online and you are able to get them. I know there was some question about when they'd be published, and I spoke to Lisa today. She said they're out, they're online. Also in the committee, we want to report that the schools have been technologically upgrading with laptops, cameras, overheads. They got thermal temperature scanners into the school so we can keep up to date when kids do eventually go back, whether it's hybrid or full. There are free lunches and breakfast for any school children that would like one. They have only 350 people that have signed up so far out of the 1,000 students that we have. So there is room to sign up. You can pick them up at the school. You can pick them up at the public landum. And in some cases, they can be delivered if there is someone that is handicapped and needs them. Please go to them. I spoke to Lisa today, and she, our superintendent, and she says that all the surveys that have gone out between the family surveys and employee surveys are back. They've been putting them together. She is going to be putting out a document to all families in the next day or two, giving target dates as to when and whether we can phase our children back in. But the big situation in phasing our children back in, and the concern that Lisa had today, is that you heard that we had 9 new people that tested positive between Friday and Sunday. 5 of them were school-aged children. So there is a concern there. And as you know, the state DESE is not allowing us because in conversations with Jeff Riley, who was running that, he is telling us that, the expectation, and it means it's very strong expectation, is that if you were a red community for 3 weeks, there is no way you can possibly go anywhere but remote. And even if you get out of the red, it's going to be 3 weeks before you can get out of the remote. And hopefully, our superintendent does have a plan to phase in and get back to in-school learning as soon as we possibly can. So that is all going to come out in document to all family over the next 2 or 3 days, and it's going to have dates where we're anticipating and hoping we can get people either remote, going from remote to hybrid to regular learning. Some people will be going in special needs and so on in the next week or two, even if we are in the red, because there is a necessity to take care of those special needs people. Okay, and that's the school department report. If anybody has any questions. Councilor DeMarco.
Thank you. Real quick, I heard, very simple, I heard that some special needs kids were going to be going back to school starting Monday. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure if it's Monday or if it's the 19th, but they are going back before anyone else goes back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's the only question I have.
The dates will be coming out. I don't want to give the dates out because Lisa is doing that, and it's doing it in, in a document to everybody so everybody knows at the same time.
Totally understand. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the school department update? All right. Hearing none, we will move to old business. There are two issues under old business that are on the agenda, and I'm going to give the meeting to Councilor Christopher to make whatever motions he wants on those two issues. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. So neither of the motions that are going to come up in old business were referred out of the Rules and Ordinances Committee. One, we referred back to Tsac. So the first one that's on the agenda, that the town council accept the recommendation of Tsac to implement 15-minute parking on Shirley Street in the vicinity of Shirley Hardware, which we heard at our last meeting. We referred that back to Tsac. So no recommendation was given from the committee.
Okay, so you're making a motion to refer it back to Tsac and take it off the agenda. Is that correct?
We already did. Yes.
Okay, you just sent it back. Okay. All right. Next one.
And the next motion, which was that the town council accept the recommendation of Tsac to improve traffic and pedestrian safety on Almond Cross and Locust Street. We tabled this motion indefinitely in committee. So we felt that there was another solution that would be more acceptable to the neighborhood. I think that it was, we heard from some of the neighbors that that was not the course that they wanted to take. So we decided to table that indefinitely, and we asked Tsac to take up a recommendation where you would have restricted parking further in intersections to make the intersections a little bit wider so that people could turn on more safely than they had previously. So we also didn't make a recommendation on that.
All right, but that motion is tabled in your committee, and it's going to stay in your committee till you bring it forward to the council again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business? Hearing none, we move on to new business. Under new business, there is a motion about a surplus vehicle, fire vehicle pump. Okay, and who is bringing that motion to the council? Austin, are you bringing that motion to the council?
The fire chief actually just had to drop off the meeting due to an emergency. I would ask Anna if she could come off mute if this is something that we need to do right this moment, or we could table it till the next meeting.
I have the motion in front of me. Motion was submitted to us by Austin Faison. Motion is, I move the town council declare as surplus the following. Year 1999 Chevy Tahoe, vehicle number so on, long vehicle number, and a 1987 Pierce pumper, and asking to, thereby authorizing the town treasurer collector to post for sale through an approved auction site or take any other action there too.
They were redundant vehicles. So if you all would like to refer to committee, if you want to ask additional questions of the chief, we could do that. Otherwise, they're redundant vehicles that weren't being used, that some of the buses, we're just trying to get some value from.
I think someone should make that motion and second
the finance. I'll second.
The motion has been made to declare the following surplus by Councilor Terry, seconded by, who was it?
The motion was to refer to finance.
Yeah, but I think you got to put the motion on the floor before we can refer it. So the motion has to be put on the floor first. So I believe a motion to put this on the floor and declare the two vehicles as surplus is made by Councilor Terry, secondly by Councilor Farino. Now I will directly just move it to the Finance Committee for a report next meeting. Okay? Everybody have that? That motion is being referred to the Finance Committee for a report. All right, under new business, there's someone want to make a motion about the bus situation that we discussed earlier?
Yes, Council President, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to create a special article for the proceeds for this from the sale of the buses that were declared surplus from the schools.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded by Councilor Terry about the proceeds from the school buses. I will also refer that to the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody want to put a motion on the floor about outdoor dining?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend our ordinances to allow for outdoor dining.
Okay. Is there
I'll
a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor DeMarco. I will send that to the Rules and Ordinance Committee for an update. Okay? Any other new business? Hearing any other new business? No other new business, we will move to public comment again. This is the second session of public comment. Everybody is welcome to speak for 3 minutes, and Councilor Honan will be doing some timing. Anybody ready?
Yes, we have Wendy Page.
Hi, Wendy. You're muted. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was unmuting. I wasn't fast enough for you. First, more as a public relations, just wanted to remind everybody about October 15th at 6:30 to 8 p.m. for the WIN 2030, our second and final vision public meeting that we're having. You do need to register to get access to the Zoom. And that information is available on, I believe it's on the town website. And if not, I'm sure it will be by the end of the week. And we'll be passing it up with social media. It's our final chance to really put together what the WIN 2030 has been pushing for our visioning and planning for the Winthrop's future. So I didn't want anyone to forget about that. That's next Thursday, the 15th.
Thank you.
So just to echo that, thank you very much, Wendy, for bringing that up. Very easy website for that, win2030.org, WIN2030.org. You can go there, sign up for stuff, look at the old information that's there. We'll have it up on our town website. It will be up on the SUFA signs. It will be included in the town manager's blog this week. Try to get into the transcript. We'll get it out there because we had a great event in May that we would like to see some more attendees for this fall one. And we want as many people as possible filling out the survey. I know we have been surveying the town to death on a couple different things related to COVID and the schools. In 2030, I had a Zen City one. We're gonna keep asking you all what you wanna do with some of these things, because again, it's your community. This is your tax dollars. We want to know what the community wants to do with some of these things. So thank you for bringing that up, Wendy.
No problem. I also wanted to thank Councilor Honan for her very concise and really well written declaration of where we are with racism in the town of Winthrop. I also personally have been attending the rallies and standing right out in front of town hall. We have been working very hard, the folks who've organized it, et cetera, to try and get people to tone back some of the things that people are saying in terms of some of the foul language, et cetera. It is rare. However, some of the things that are being said, that are being tossed out by the other side really have nothing to do with a political stance as much as very hateful commentary about people of color, about Islamic folks and anti-Semitism sentiment. So it's really not just about, an anti-Trump rally from the people on the other side. That's not what this is for. In addition, I'd like to thank the Diversity and Inclusion Commission. I know their first meeting was rough. There's a lot of us who work with One Winthrop who would love to be able to remind them of the information that we already have out there and help them move some of these things forward for those of us who have worked in diversity and equity before. And additionally, we have so many things happening in Winthrop, and with the way our current election and everything seems to be moving forward, I just want to remind people with local issues, politics local affects your daily life more than national. And when we're working and you have people coming out saying this, and this, or what's wrong in our town, and then other people saying, no, it's not, you have to be okay with having opposition, but violence and making threats. And, some of the students that have been pushing forward on some things with opening the schools and things, there's a way to have opposition. And then there's things that are true threats and there's real violence. And that's unacceptable. And if we as parents aren't showing our younger folks how to do politics, it's not going to change. And I would really like to put it out there that we cannot always agree. We can agree to disagree, but violence and threats and nastiness is not going to change anything. I thank you for the time and see you guys next Thursday.
Thank you. We're in public comment, so I see Donna Riley has her hand up.
Yes, she does. If she wants to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hi, Donna.
Yes, good evening, and Council President Boncory, again, I want to thank you for the speediness, in a sense. When you think about issues and how fast things move in politics, it was relatively speedy this past year in setting up the Commission for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. I heard what John Morgan had to say. I was in and out multitasking, to be honest. But what I did send to the new email address, which I'll give again, later, but the mission statement from 2018, 2019, I did send to the new email to the commission at the town website. So each member should have a copy of that, with no obligation to replicate, what was done back in 2018, 19, but as a guideline, which might be helpful to them in setting up their goals in being an advisory and educational committee. So that's all that I had to offer, is that, we could not actually have to reinvent the wheel, that there were particular people, Stephanie Recchia, Julia Wallers, and Sylvia Whiting, who did work very hard on getting this mission statement executed.
Thank you, Donna. And I did receive that package and all the information that you had in it. It's very useful. So I think that they'll all get it. I'll make sure John gets one, because John isn't on the computer, but we'll get him one.
Oh, I didn't realize that, but thank you for that, because I'd like to especially thank Larissa Wojcik, because I guess between she and Denise Quist, they set up this new email address, which stands for Commission on Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. So it's cdicr@town.winthrop.ma.us. And I think that's a great thing, and it's a little bit, and some people might say the commission isn't moving fast enough, but every little bit counts. So just having a vehicle to be able to contact the commission like that is tremendous. And their phone number is 617-846-1852, extension 1034, with Denise Quist being the contact person. And thanks to Denise for what she does. And one quick last thing, thank you, Councillor Honan and all those other councillors who so eloquently supported the fine words that she rendered this evening. And thank you so much for allowing me the time.
Thank you, Donna. Does anyone else wish to be heard on public comment? I don't see any other hands. Do we have any? Yes, we do.
We have Julia. Go ahead, Julia.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, everyone. Julie Waller's here. Maybe there's a couple of Julias in this town, so I thought I'd distinguish Precinct 2. I just want to say really quickly, I've got a kid here about to go to bed. Two things. I missed the beginning of the meeting, but thank you, Tracy, Councillor Honan, for making a statement about the topic of racism in our town. And I really strongly encourage you all to come together and issue a statement condemning all hate speech, bigotry, and racism in our community. It's not political. It's really moral. And, you're only making us, on the right side of history in the long run. So know that you have my support. You have so much support in the community for doing that. So thanks for considering that. Thanks for the new commission for making that recommendation. And then second, just really quickly, thanks, Councillor DeMarco, for raising the question about Pleasant Street and all the repaving, which is awesome that all these streets are getting the attention that they've needed, right, for so long. It's so great to see it. I mean, I have it right outside of my house. We got new sidewalks, we're getting new street, new ramps, huge improvement. I'm so grateful. But at the same time, while we're doing this, it's a really unique opportunity to build our street, to make our streets better, right? Not to put them back exactly as they are, but to put them back so that they work even better for our town today, which is different than it was, I don't know when the last time that those streets were repaved, but, we have different goals today in the era of COVID. More people are walking, more people are biking, we're staying close to home. And we know all the places where new crosswalks are needed, particularly on our major streets like Pleasant. So, and I emailed Steve about this earlier, but I hope we can find a way to, take advantage of this really unique opportunity to make the turning radius is better for our buses, to put in some striped bus stops and, add some more safe places for people to safely cross our busier roads. So looking forward to hopefully making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard on public comment? I see another hand. I see John Morgan up again.
Yep. Mr. Morgan, if you want to go ahead and unmute your phone.
Yes, hi, John Morgan, Precinct 4. Again, I'd like to apologize for my very poor performance trying to give my speech at the beginning of the meeting. As a disabled person, I've been very, very, very fortunate and being able to attend the Tsac and the former Transportation Advisory Committee, getting my concerns listened to. And again, I worked very hard trying to get that on the agenda, and I do apologize for my performance. And if anyone has a time machine, I would gladly pay triple for a ticket.
Thank you, John. Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. John is very interested person, and he's fighting for disabled people all the time. And that was one of the main reasons I put him on that diversity committee as a representative of all the disabled people in Winthrop. John is blind, and he still gets himself to all these meetings, and he's a good mind to have on that committee, and I'm very glad to have John there. Thank you, John. Do we have any other public comments? If we have no other public comments, I'd like someone to make a motion to revert to new business, because I had 2 appointments I want to make.
Motion to revert to new business.
Motion by Councilor Lettieri, seconded.
Second.
By Councilor Farino. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of reverting to new business signify by saying aye when your name is called. Denise, unmute.
Councilor Ruggiero.
Yes.
Councilor Flockhart.
Yes.
Councilor DeMarco.
Yes.
Councilor Christopher.
Yes.
Councilor Honan.
Yes.
Councilor Conti. Yes. Councilor Farino.
Yes.
Council Vice President Lettieri.
Yes.
Council President Boncory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to pass the gavel to Vice President Lettieri. And I have 2 appointments, and I meant to make them. I spoke to both of these people today, and they are Chief of Police Terrence Delahanty and Superintendent of Schools Lisa Howard, because there's been quite some concern with the diversity committee that there is a need to have somebody on that committee that knows what's going on with the schools and can help them make decisions the right way. And there's someone in the police that can help them make the decisions as they make these decisions. The diversity committee was requesting, and a lot of people that were calling in were suggesting that we have those 2 people on the diversity committee. So I am appointing Chief of Police Terrence Delahanty or his designee as an associate non-voting member of the diversity committee. and I am appointing Superintendent of Schools Lisa Howard or her designee as a non-voting advisory member to the Committee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Public Relations, Community Relations, sorry.
So there's a motion on the floor for 2 additional appointees by Council President Boncory, one being Chief Delahanty or his designee, and the other being Ms. Howard or her designee. I think this is something we could vote on now. There are no relations on here, so I think we could take them simultaneously unless anybody has an objection. I would ask for a second to the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilor DeMarco. Any discussion on the motion of the 2 appointees? Seeing none, I ask you to vote yea or nay when your name is read.
Council Ruggiero,
Yes.
Council Flockhart,
Yes.
Council DeMarco,
Yes.
Council Christopher,
Yes.
Council Honan,
Yes.
Councilor Conti, Councilor Farino,
Yes.
Vice President Lettieri,
Yes.
President Boncory.
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
2 appointees, motion is passed. Any other business, Council President?
Nope, that is it.
Okay, pass the gavel back.
Thank you. And now we're into public comment and not public comment, I'm sorry, we finished public comment. Public relations and upcoming events. I know there are quite a few things that are planned. I think Denise has a list of the committees that are meeting. I know that the Charter Review Committee is having a meeting this week on the 8th. I think there are 2 other meetings on the 8th. Denise, do you have a list of the upcoming meetings?
Yeah, on the 8th, there's a joint committee meeting of the SBAC and the Miller Field Committee. And there's also a library trustee meeting on the 8th. And there is an ordinance review committee on the 8th.
All right.
And
There
it's
any
located
other,
on the web.
are there any other meetings this week that we should notify people of under this upcoming events?
No, we're good. And they're all on the calendar, the web calendar for the town.
Okay. Does any council have any public relations or upcoming events? Councilor DeMarco.
Hi, I just wanted to give a shout out to the For Kids Only program. You know, right now with COVID going on, everybody has, you know, this is going to affect us whether we like it or not. COVID is going to be in our lives for the next 1 to 2 years in some form or another. You know, whether it's your office, whether it's your school, no matter what, we're going to run into it. You can protect yourself. We're going to wear masks. We're going to social distance. We're going to do everything we can to keep everybody safe. But there are going to be cases. That's just a reality that we live in. We're going to have to deal with them. So that's where I want to give a shout out to For Kids Only. For Kids Only opened up due to an executive order from the governor to help kids learn in a school setting. They have a couple classrooms in the E.B. Newton School, and they're working out of those offices. And on the second day, they actually had a kid test positive for COVID through no fault of their own. But where the victory here is they had a response plan. They had corrective measures in place. They had safety protocols. They immediately sprang into action. They isolated the student and he was essentially, you know, taken care of. That classroom had to quarantine per orders for 14 days, that first grade classroom. And I'm happy to say that first grade classroom is now back in the building, and there has not been another case since. And the reason I bring this up is, number one, it is so important for us, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a school, whatever you are, to plan and have these measures in place, because we are going to have to deal with these issues. And number two, just a great job by For Kids Only. They give a sense of normalcy to a lot of our kids. They're as close to a school situation as my 7-year-old can get to right now. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, FKO. Great job.
Oh, that's good public relations for FKO. Does anybody else have any public relations or upcoming events they want to discuss? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Farino, seconded by
Second.
Second, I didn't catch that. I think it's Council Vice President Lettieri. All right, all those in favor signify by saying yes when your name is called.
Council Ruggiero,
Yes.
Council Flockhart,
Yes.
Council DeMarco,
Yes.
Council Christopher,
Yes.
Council Honan,
Yes.
Councilor Conti, Council Farino,
Yes.
Vice President Lettieri,
Yes.
President Boncory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I want everybody to please be safe. Get us out of this red situation, please. Wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, and let's get kids back in school as soon as we can. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.